Okay, we are back with a few sample resumes. I'm not saying any of these are perfect or ideal because, again, you're going to get different information from different people depending on their point of view and how relevant they are to the industry. So, a career coach is going to probably give some really solid general information, but they may not know as many specifics about the fitness, sport performance, or coaching industry. Someone who's working in fitness, sport performance, and coaching is going to know a lot about the type of content that is important in a resume, but may not really understand some of the current or relevant do's and don'ts. So, anyways, I'm going to go through 3 different resumes, different types. They've got just different ways of projecting information, and you can see what you like best. So, here's one of the examples. This is actually from the Eastern Career Development Center. So we've got a big title, address, email, phone number. Education is listed on top. It's pretty basic. Full university, city, state. The date, so month and years, is plenty. You don't need to put actual date. And then the degree, and then just general area. And again, like major is fine. Don't need to put minor. They kept it sweet and simple. Here, this is an individual who likely doesn't have a ton of work experience. If we scroll down a little bit more, their first item listed in relevant experience was their internship. So they chose to put relevant course projects here, and they put 2. It's nicely bolded. You've got a heading and then some bullets about what the project actually was, what did they do in it. So this is just one way if you really are lacking related work experience, so the resume doesn't look empty, you can put some very specific and unique projects, and you better be able to explain what you did well here on the resume and an interview about them. Then we've got related or relevant work experience. So they just put the internship. Don't forget to put your internships on the resume, especially when you have minimal work experience. As your resume gets bigger and longer and you work more positions or have different career options, you can start to take off some of the older stuff. But so you've got the title of the place, the actual title of what you did in the internship, city, state, dates that you were there, some really good bullets that essentially said what you did and anything that that was unique, something that showed skills and qualities. So this third bullet talks about being able to bill from health insurance companies, receive recommendations, and then this is a unique thing: save physician 14% of budget because of being on time and organized. So again, things an employer is going to look for. Additional work experience. So this person worked at their library. Kind of a general job like student work. You can put it on there. My recommendation was don't put it unless you have nothing else, or if in your bullets you can showcase some skills that are transferable. So this one relating to handling calls is some customer service, communication. That makes sense to have. Again, this is a recent student. They put some of their college leadership activities as you get more involved in professions and in professional organizations outside of college. You can start to take the college areas off. But again, very similar format. We've got bolded the actual organization, the title that you had, work that you did, bullets, volunteer experience, any other skills. So if you're fluent in another language, absolutely that needs to be on here. And then here at the bottom, this is just some other areas that the Career Development Center put on here. So other headings you could have, typical additional ones, and then I have another document we'll look at in class that has some other tips. So that was one option. Here's another option. This one's a little bit more specific to our field. Again, very basic type of format. There's consistency in some of our headings and our titles, but really that's about it in terms of anything flashy that we have. Oops, got a little typo over here. So we've got big name and headers, address, email. We've got education was listed first, and again, this is an in-progress example. Expected graduation, city and state fully written out, major, minor were listed. Associate's degree, again, I mentioned in the previous video, included until you have your bachelor's degree done. Then you should take it off unless it's in a really unique area. Certifications are pretty important. for some in our field, so that's why they were listed next. Again, some of the order of these things, it just depends. Depending on what you're going for, maybe your work experience should be the first area. If you're applying to graduate school, education for sure needs to be first. If you're applying for the types of jobs that the main requirement they list first is you need a certain certification, then that area should be listed first. So a lot of people have different resumes, different versions, and again, keep track of those versions. Work experience or professional work experience, you could honestly take out this word and just call it work experience, but we have the title, the location, the city, and the state. Abbreviation is okay right here. And then we've got some really good verbs. We've got assessed, designed, guided, and collaborated. Basically says what you did, the dates that you were there. If it's a general like season, you can put summer. Internship was listed here. Additional experience, so basketball coach. They're not looking for coaching jobs, it sounds like, but it's related to physical activity. And then the Ace Hardware assistant manager. That was not related. However, the concepts or the things that they did that they chose to put in the bullets, those concepts of processing money, of looking at this inventory, communicating, and then having enhanced communication skills is pretty important. So those are things that would for sure be included. And then again, whether you go or not to the extra page to be determined by, I guess, if that's appropriate or not. It's fine for some. Other people want to keep it short and sweet one side. I would say definitely no more than a front and a back. But physical activity and fitness engagement, this is an example if you're going to workshops or if you yourself are doing a lot of shadowing, this is where you can put that. If you are a regular practitioner of a certain type of fitness or you have a certain skill set that maybe could come out in your coaching or in your training, but it's more of you as the participant. If you are competing in a sport right now, that's where you would list that. And then professional memberships, if you have them, if you're actually active, if you're actually attending meetings or if attending state and national conferences or volunteering, then include them. If you're not actually active in the organization, don't include it. Then here's an example of references. References should always be a separate page. Oftentimes I'll just save it as a separate, or tell people to save it as a separate document because that often might need to be uploaded separately. So I'll have a version of the resume that includes it on a separate page and then a version of the resume that doesn't include it, but then have them separate. Anytime you're going to do your references, have their name and then their title, where they're actually at. So we've got name, title, where they're at, actual address. If you don't have the street address, it's not the end of the world. Most of the time they just want to know what city and state it was in. Email's vital, and so is phone number. You can't not have those on there. So those are references. And then the third example of a resume, this one is going to be more of an aesthetic resume. Ones like these that we've looked at, they're pretty heavy on content. And so this is someone who can really articulate well what they've done. So in the resume world, they often say content is king, but aesthetic is queen. There's lots of different types of aesthetics too. This one is going to focus a little bit more on skills and strengths. It's not going to have that reverse chronological type of format of listing every single thing that was done. So we've got a nice big heading, and then the person has a title. So the other resumes, we didn't have that. It listed that certification right up on top, contact information, and here you can see it also includes their LinkedIn and then a social media handle, so Instagram handle as well. And then on some resumes, I mentioned in the other video, do you have an objective or not? The other ones didn't have one. So instead of having an objective, it basically has what this person is about. So that concept of a personal brand or what you do. So this person, Buddy the Elf, he's a client-centered builder of physical culture. He applies evidence-based practice in fitness. You are getting a degree. That's one thing that you want to make sure that in a lot of settings, you want to emphasize what does your degree get you? Because a lot of people in fitness don't care that you have a degree. If you care about it, if it's important to you, you better be able to articulate what is good about it and what sets you apart because of having that degree. So for many of you, it's going to be this fact that you're able to use evidence, you're able to use the things you learned in classes in your coaching and teaching so that it's relatable to others. If you can't do this, don't include it, and you should maybe question what you're doing with the knowledge you're getting in classes. So then we scroll down to professional experience, and this person just listed two things. Again, so maybe not super experienced. They listed two main jobs, a lead personal trainer, that's different than just one, the location or the actual place, and then just the dates. Really simple. They didn't even put the city and the state. A little brief synopsis. These are essentially sentence fragments, but they are separated by pyramids. So they also are pyramids, periods, and they all start with verbs. So joined, engaged, and mentor. So it talks about some of the highlights that were done. So engage in training, how they show some progress, how they started out, built a base of 12 in a year, and then that base grew to over 75 across 2 years, and now mentor new trainers. Here's some basically stats. Increased group fitness classes on campus. Here's how they helped their clients meet some of their goals, and then how technology was implemented, and then how they managed challenges. The other position that was included is youth sport coach, and this is a good example of how to phrase something if you've worked at multiple places but really did the same job. So if it was a school district, we've got here a YMCA, general dates, and essentially similar type of job, coached, communicated, led with a philosophy. This is something unique. So success through character and physical literacy, and then major highlights, incorporated membership, some win-loss records, and an award that was received. So basic work history. This provides some really good information here if you do land an interview for them to ask questions, and you get a pretty good sense of what this person is about. Over here on the right side, we've got skills. And so this is a really important section. The other resumes didn't focus on as much. So skills and strengths could be a title of this area too. So group fitness, social media marketing. This is important for less 4-hour or less response rate to clients. That's something that people are looking for. Skilled in Google applications, logging, booking, billing, orienting new trainers, functional fitness, yoga. Certifications, here's where they're listed. So personal trainer, it's actually listing the organization again, First Aid, CPR, American Red Cross. Highlights and passion. So again, this person doesn't have a ton of certs, so they added this section. And highlights and passion, that could be, again, part of their branding. And they used essentially a quote from a client. Of how he worked with them. And then education on the other resumes, it was listed first. Here it's basically at the bottom corner. So it's listed here. We've got the actual degree with honors, the university, city, state, don't even have the year. We did put what was important there. They did an internship, Snowball Ice and Performance Center. If this resume could be incorporating something, it might be good to see what did they do at this Ice and Performance Center. Did they coach? Did they do sport performance work? Did they clean? Behind the scenes business kind of stuff, that could be important. But here's just some basic ideas. These are templates that you can use. This one here was from an actual template. It was just a Word template, very simple. The other one started with a fresh, clean Word document. There's pros and cons to using a template. Some people will say to use one for sure. Some people will say don't use one. Again, it's up to you. You need to make it look good and to sell yourself. So my advice is find the option that is most you and best fits the image that you want to portray about what you can actually do.